Have you ever thought about the tiny spirals inside your cells? DNA quietly works there, guiding every heartbeat and every little movement, carrying stories from millions of years ago. Tonight, let's take a calm journey through 100 gentle facts about DNA, and let your mind drift along with the quiet rhythm of life. Fact 1. DNA is the blueprint of life. Have you ever wondered what makes you, well, you? Your hair colour, your eye colour, even those little quirks that make you laugh at the silliest things, all of that is quietly guided by something tiny inside every cell of your body. DNA. People like to call it the blueprint of life, and in a way, it's exactly that. Think of it like the most detailed instruction manual you could ever imagine, one that tells every cell how to grow, what to do, and when to do it. It's fascinating when you realize that this blueprint isn't something visible or tangible in your daily life. You can't hold it like a book, yet it's there, folded up neatly inside almost every single cell. Imagine a city where every building, every street, every streetlight, even the tiniest details, are all planned down to the smallest brick. That's what DNA does for living organisms. It makes sure that each of your organs forms correctly, that your body repairs itself, and that even your immune system knows how to defend you. DNA works quietly. It doesn't announce itself. Instead, it sends instructions that proteins follow. Proteins are like little workers inside your body. They read the instructions, carry out tasks, and make sure everything runs smoothly. Without DNA, proteins would have no guidance. And life as we know it simply wouldn't exist. What's even more mesmerizing is how universal DNA is. Every living thing, from the tiniest bacterium to the largest whale, relies on this same kind of instruction system. That means there's a shared story embedded in life itself, written in a language that stretches back billions of years. It's like holding a key to the history of life, quietly encoded in every cell. And while the concept might sound a little intimidating, in reality, DNA is elegant in its simplicity. It's not chaotic or random. It has patterns, repeating sequences, twists and loops. The more scientists study it, the more they discover just how precise and magical this blueprint really is. It's humbling to think that the reason your heart beats, your fingers move, and your mind imagines all comes from a set of instructions tucked away inside you. So, next time you glance in the mirror, or notice something about yourself that feels unique, remember, there's a silent architect inside you, a blueprint of life called DNA, shaping every little thing about you, day by day, quietly, endlessly, and perfectly. Fact 2. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid DNA. It's a term we hear all the time, but do you ever pause to think about what the letters actually mean? DNA is short for deoxyribonucleic acid. It sounds complicated, almost like a spell from a fantasy story, but it's actually just the formal name for the molecule that carries all the instructions for life. Breaking it down helps make it more approachable. Deoxyribo refers to a type of sugar that forms part of DNA's backbone, giving the molecule stability and flexibility at the same time. Nucleic points to the fact that DNA is found in the nucleus of cells, where it's carefully packaged and protected. And acid might sound scary, but in this context it's simply a chemical term describing the molecule's properties. Together, these three words describe something incredibly essential: the storage system for genetic information. It's easy to imagine DNA as a code or a language. Every living thing on Earth reads that code in its own way, from the tiniest microbe to humans, who use it to develop, grow, and survive. Each strand of DNA is like a string of letters forming words, sentences, and stories, but the story is of life itself. One of the most magical parts is how this molecule carries such vast information in such a tiny space. If you could stretch out the DNA in a single human cell, it would reach about 2 meters long, yet it fits snugly inside the microscopic nucleus of the cell, folded and twisted like a tiny perfect spool of thread. Scientists sometimes marvel at how nature managed to compress something so detailed and essential into such a small package, and while the name deoxyribonucleic acid might sound technical, every time you hear it, remember it's just another way of referring to that quiet, invisible system guiding life. DNA doesn't just define humans, it's present in all life, quietly shaping how each organism grows, adapts, and lives. It's a beautiful reminder that even the most complicated sounding things in science often have simple, elegant purposes. So next time you say DNA, think of it as a secret code, a language of life, a delicate twist of molecules carrying the instructions that make you, you. Fact 3. Every living organism has DNA. It's almost mind-blowing when you realize that everything alive on this planet, from the smallest bacterium crawling on a leaf to the tallest tree swaying in the wind, has DNA inside it. Yes, that includes your pet dog, the mushrooms on your plate, and even the algae drifting in a pond. DNA is the universal thread that connects all life. You might think humans are special, but in reality we're part of this vast, ongoing story, written in the same molecular language as every other living thing. That's why scientists can compare DNA across species to discover evolutionary connections. Your DNA might be 98% similar to a chimpanzee, and even share a significant portion with other mammals, birds, and yes, even some plants. It's like finding echoes of a common past in every living thing. DNA works quietly but persistently. Every cell, whether in a worm or a whale, reads the instructions encoded in DNA to build proteins, repair itself, and pass information to the next generation. Even organisms that seem simple, like bacteria, have DNA guiding them, helping them survive in all sorts of extreme conditions. Hot springs, icy oceans, deep underground caves. It's almost poetic how this molecule ties together the diversity of life. And it's not just the presence of DNA that's remarkable, but how incredibly well it works. DNA adapts, evolves, and mutates gently over time, creating variations that allow species to survive changing environments. That tiny molecule in every cell is essentially a storyteller, chronicling life's past and shaping its future. Next time you see a flower blooming, a bird soaring, or even a bug crawling across your window, remember that the same type of molecule, DNA, is at work, quietly scripting the story of life. It's humbling to realize that we're all connected through this invisible, intricate code, each organism playing its part in a much larger narrative. Fact 4. Humans share over 99% of DNA with each other. It's easy to forget sometimes, especially when you glance around a crowded room, that every person you see shares over 99% of the same DNA with you. That tiny 1% difference is what makes each of us unique. The shape of your nose, the color of your eyes, your natural smile. But underneath it all, the similarities are astounding. Think about it. You could meet someone halfway across the world, and even though your experiences, languages, and lifestyles are completely different, the very molecules inside your cells are almost identical. That's why humans, as a species, share more in common than we often realize. This high degree of similarity explains why our bodies work in such a similar way. Every human has a heart that beats, lungs that breathe, and a brain that dreams, all guided by these shared instructions. Even the differences, like a unique fingerprint or the way we metabolize food, are encoded in that small 1% that varies from person to person. What's quietly beautiful about this fact is that DNA doesn't just make us similar, it also celebrates individuality. That tiny fraction of variation allows for creativity, personality, and the small quirks that make every human story unique. Imagine a world where everyone's DNA was completely identical. Life would be much less colourful. And yet, beneath the surface, that shared DNA creates a deep connection between all humans. It's humbling to think that despite our differences, every person carries a story written in the same molecular language, a story that has been passing from generation to generation for thousands of years. So, the next time you look at someone and notice a difference, remember that at the molecular level, you're more alike than you are different. That shared DNA quietly reminds us that we're all part of the same human story. Fact 5. DNA is made up of 4 chemical bases. A, T, C, G. At the heart of DNA's instruction manual are 4 letters. A, T, C, and G. They might look simple, but these 4 chemical bases are the building blocks of life, forming sequences that create the story of every living organism. Think of them as the alphabet of biology. A always pairs with T, and C always pairs with G. This pairing is precise, like puzzle pieces snapping together perfectly. It's this order and pairing that allow DNA to replicate faithfully every time a cell divides. Imagine a library where every book's pages are perfectly mirrored in another copy. That's DNA at work. Even though there are only 4 bases, the combinations they can make are staggering. They can spell out the instructions for building proteins, controlling cell behavior, and even regulating when certain genes should turn on or off. It's incredible how such a simple system can create the incredible diversity of life we see around us. And these letters aren't static. They can change slowly over time, creating variations that allow species to adapt. Mutations, small changes in the sequence of A, T, C, and G, are part of life's quiet evolution. Sometimes they have no effect, sometimes they create tiny differences, and occasionally they contribute to significant changes in a species over generations. When you really think about it, all the complexity of a human being, a tree, or a dolphin comes down to combinations of just 4 simple letters. It's elegant, quiet, and almost poetic. Each sequence is a soft rhythm, a molecular whisper guiding life's story in a way that feels both precise and endlessly creative. Next time you hear A, T, C, and G mentioned, remember, they aren't just letters on a page, they're the melody of life, playing softly in every cell, telling the story of who we are. Fact 6. The shape of DNA is a double helix. When people first saw DNA under a microscope, they didn't just see a molecule, they saw a spiral staircase of life. This shape, known as a double helix, is one of the most iconic images in science. Picture 2 delicate ribbons twisting around each other, like a soft spiral staircase that never ends, and you've got the basic idea. This twisting form isn't just for show, it's a clever way for nature to store a huge amount of information in a tiny space. The 2 strands of the helix complement each other, with base pairs lining up like perfectly matched rungs on a ladder. Each twist and turn ensures the molecule is stable but flexible, able to coil and uncoil as needed. One fascinating thing is how this shape influences life's processes. When cells need to make proteins or replicate DNA, the double helix can gently unwind, allowing the machinery inside the cell to read the instructions. It's like opening a carefully folded scroll to reveal the story inside, then folding it back without a single crease out of place. The elegance of the double helix is mesmerizing. The symmetry, the curves, the way the strands spiral in perfect harmony, it's almost artistic. Scientists sometimes describe it as the most beautiful molecule in the world, not just for its function, but for the quiet, elegant way it embodies life itself. Next time you think about DNA, imagine that gentle twist, turning endlessly inside every cell, silently scripting life in a language we're only beginning to fully understand. It's simple, complex, and breathtaking all at once. Fact 7. DNA strands are incredibly long when stretched out. Here's a fun thought. If you could take all the DNA from one single cell and stretch it out end to end, it would be incredibly long, much longer than you'd imagine. In fact, a single DNA strand can stretch several meters. For something microscopic, this is mind-boggling. Think of it like this. Inside every tiny cell, there's a string longer than a person is tall, folded and coiled perfectly to fit inside. It's like cramming a giant, intricately written scroll into a tiny jewelry box without damaging a word. That's how nature manages to store so much information in such a small space. This length also highlights DNA's efficiency. Despite being long, it's packed in a way that allows cells to access exactly the part they need at the right moment. Proteins can navigate this enormous molecule with precision, reading sequences like sentences in a book. The length and complexity of DNA make life both resilient and adaptable, able to handle millions of tasks every second. So the next time you think of something tiny, remember that inside it could be a molecule stretching out like a hidden highway, carrying the instructions for life in every twist and turn. It's a quiet, hidden marvel, happening in every cell at this very moment. Fact 8. Each human cell contains about 2 meters of DNA. It might feel impossible, but every single human cell, of which there are trillions in your body, contains about 2 meters of DNA. Yes, 2 meters, all neatly folded into the microscopic space of a nucleus that's only a few micrometers wide. Nature's packing skills are extraordinary. This folding isn't random. DNA coils, loops, and twists in highly organized ways to ensure that the cell can read and use it efficiently. Think of it like a very sophisticated origami project. Every crease, twist, and fold has a purpose, allowing the DNA to fit snugly while remaining functional. Even more incredible is that this same 2-meter strand carries all the instructions for creating every part of your body. Every heartbeat, every breath, every little flicker of thought comes from that compact, carefully folded molecule. It's a gentle reminder of how complex yet precise life truly is, and because every cell carries its own 2 meters of DNA, your body is a library of tiny instruction manuals, quietly working together in harmony, day and night, without ever taking a break. Fact 9. DNA is packed tightly inside chromosomes. If DNA is long and delicate, how does it fit inside the tiny nucleus of a cell? The answer is chromosomes. Imagine winding that 2-meter-long thread around tiny spools again and again, making it compact but accessible. That's essentially what chromosomes do. They're the packaging system that keeps DNA organized. Humans have 46 chromosomes in most cells, each carrying a portion of the DNA story. Some chromosomes are tiny, some are larger, but all of them are crucial for maintaining order in the genetic library. Without this packing system, cells couldn't function properly. DNA would tangle, genes might get lost, and life itself would be at risk. Chromosomes also play a key role during cell division. When a cell divides, chromosomes ensure that each new cell receives an exact copy of DNA. It's like making sure each new book in a library has every page intact and in the right order. The precision is remarkable. Even though chromosomes are packed tightly, they're not rigid. They're flexible enough to allow the cell to read, copy, and repair DNA whenever needed. This balance between compactness and accessibility is one of the quiet miracles of life. Fact 10. Humans have 46 chromosomes in most cells. Humans typically have 46 chromosomes arranged in 23 pairs, quietly carrying the blueprint of our bodies. Each chromosome is a condensed package of DNA, containing thousands of genes, all working together to make you who you are. Half of these chromosomes come from your mother, half from your father. That's why we inherit traits from both parents. Eye color, hair texture, even subtle aspects of personality can be traced back to these chromosomes. It's fascinating to think that a tiny package inside almost every cell carries the story of our ancestry, quietly connecting us to generations before us. Chromosomes aren't just static containers. They interact, exchange segments, and even evolve over time. They're part of a delicate dance that shapes life, keeps it dynamic, and ensures that new generations carry forward the story written in DNA. And while 46 may sound like just a number, it's actually the foundation of the human experience, quietly working inside every cell, shaping every heartbeat, thought, and movement. Without chromosomes, life as we know it wouldn't be possible, and the incredible story of DNA would have nowhere to unfold. Fact 11. DNA determines eye, hair, and skin color. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered why your eyes are the color they are? Or why your hair has a certain shade? The answer is quietly tucked inside your cells. DNA. It carries instructions for these traits, passing them down from your parents. Eye color, for example, isn't just a single gene deciding blue or brown. It's the result of multiple genes interacting, like little switches that combine to create the exact shade you have. Hair color works in a similar way. DNA decides whether your hair is dark, light, curly, or straight. It even influences the tiny variations, like the way sunlight might make your brown hair shimmer with golden highlights. Skin color, too, is encoded in DNA. It's a subtle orchestra of genes working together to produce the exact tone your skin carries, adapting over generations to environments and sun exposure. What's fascinating is how this system allows for so much variety. Two siblings can look completely different even though they share the same parents. The combination of genes inherited from both mother and father creates an intricate blend, making each person's appearance unique. DNA quietly choreographs this beautiful diversity in the human family. And while genes influence our appearance, there's more than meets the eye. Small environmental factors, like sunlight, nutrition, or age, interact with these genetic instructions, sometimes enhancing or softening traits. In a way, DNA sets the blueprint, but life adds its own brushstrokes to the canvas. It's a gentle reminder that every face, every shade, every curl or freckle is a story written by DNA. When you notice someone's striking eyes or unique hair color, you're really seeing the quiet handiwork of generations of DNA shaping who they are. Fact 12. DNA influences height and body shape. Height and body shape can feel like simple things, but they're actually guided by DNA in a surprisingly complex way. Think about it. Your parents' genes mix together to determine how tall you might grow, how broad your shoulders are, or whether you carry weight in certain areas. DNA acts like a subtle architect, laying out the design for your body while allowing life itself to make tiny adjustments along the way. It's not just one gene deciding everything. Dozens, even hundreds interact to shape the outcome. That's why siblings can end up looking very different in height or build, even though they share the same parents. DNA quietly balances these factors, blending inherited traits with small environmental influences like nutrition, activity, and overall health. Your body shape, from the curve of your shoulders to the width of your hips, follows similar principles. DNA gives instructions to muscles, bones, and fat distribution. But it's flexible, like a guide rather than a strict rulebook. Lifestyle and environment gently modify how these instructions are expressed, making every person a unique combination of inherited potential and lived experience. It's fascinating to think about the millions of years of evolution embedded in these instructions, quietly shaping what we look like and how we move through the world. DNA isn't rigid, it's adaptable, responsive, and precise. So next time you notice your height, or the way your body is shaped, remember that DNA is at work, a quiet sculptor crafting you over time, blending history, inheritance, and a little touch of chance into the person you are today. Fact 13. DNA affects personality traits subtly. You might think personality is entirely shaped by experience, but DNA plays a gentle, quiet role too. Certain tendencies, like whether you're naturally outgoing, cautious, or curious, can be influenced by the genes you inherited from your parents. It's subtle, like a soft undercurrent guiding how you respond to the world, not a rigid script telling you exactly how to act. Some people inherit traits linked to temperament, emotional sensitivity, or even risk-taking tendencies. DNA doesn't determine destiny, but it provides a framework upon which life's experiences can build. Think of it like soil. Your genes prepare the ground, and life's experiences are the sunlight and water that help the plant grow. Even small variations in genes can subtly influence brain chemistry, hormone levels, and how you perceive the world. Combined with upbringing, environment, and personal choices, this creates the rich, diverse tapestry of human personality. That's why siblings can be so different in temperament, even if they share the same home and childhood. What's beautiful about this is the balance between inheritance and choice. DNA quietly nudges, shapes, and guides, but life allows endless possibilities for growth. Your personality is both written and lived, a dance between genetic guidance and your unique experiences. So the next time you notice a particular trait in yourself, whether curiosity, patience, or creativity, remember that part of it may be quietly written in your DNA, gently guiding your steps without ever dictating them. Fact 14. Your DNA is unique, except for identical twins. One of the most remarkable things about DNA is its individuality. Every person carries a genetic code that is almost entirely unique, making each of us a one-of-a-kind creation. Even with so many similarities across humanity, the exact sequence of DNA in you is unlike anyone else's, except, of course, in identical twins. Identical twins arise from a single fertilized egg that splits, giving each twin the same DNA. That's why they often look strikingly similar, even sharing subtle traits that might seem almost magical. For everyone else, though, the tiny differences in DNA make a world of distinction. Eye color, fingerprints, and even some aspects of personality are influenced by this uniqueness. Your DNA is like a personal instruction manual written in a language that no one else has quite the same way. The differences may be small, but they shape your physical traits, your metabolism, and subtle tendencies that make you you. This uniqueness is also the reason why DNA testing is so powerful. From ancestry tracing to identifying family connections, our DNA carries a story that belongs only to us. Every strand is a personal record of history, quietly preserved and passed down through generations. Thinking about this can be awe-inspiring. You are, in a literal sense, one of a kind, shaped by countless generations and wrapped up in a molecule that's quietly working inside your cells every second. Fact 15. DNA can mutate and create diversity. Even though DNA is carefully preserved in every cell, it isn't completely unchanging. Mutations, small changes in the DNA sequence, happen naturally over time. Most are harmless or neutral, but some can lead to differences that are visible, like slight variations in hair color or eye shape, and sometimes even influence how a body responds to the environment. Mutations are a quiet force behind diversity. They allow life to adapt, evolve, and change slowly across generations. Without them, every organism would be nearly identical, and life would be far less vibrant. Mutations provide new possibilities, a gentle nudge in the endless dance of evolution. What's fascinating is that the DNA in each of us carries a combination of inherited instructions and these small variations. That's why species can thrive in so many different environments and why no two people are truly alike. Diversity, at its core, is written in the DNA itself. Even when we can't see it, DNA is shaping life quietly, allowing each generation to be a little different, a little unique, and a little more prepared for the challenges ahead. It's the hidden story behind why the world is so varied, colourful, and endlessly fascinating. Fact 16. Some DNA sequences are identical across all humans. Even though every person's DNA is mostly unique, there are certain sequences that are shared across all humans. Think of them as the common foundation of life, the silent threads that bind every human being together. These sequences are responsible for the basic machinery that keeps our cells alive and functioning, things like breathing, digesting food, and maintaining a heartbeat. It's incredible to think that billions of people walking around today all share the same tiny stretches of DNA. These sequences are ancient, passed down through countless generations, virtually unchanged. They remind us that beneath all the differences in appearance, culture, or personality, humans are more alike than we often realize. These shared sequences also give scientists a kind of roadmap for understanding human biology. Because everyone has them, studying these regions can reveal insights about how cells function, why some diseases happen, and even how life adapts and evolves. It's a quiet, invisible network connecting all of humanity at the most fundamental level. So while your DNA carries your personal story, it also contains these universal elements, a reminder that even in our uniqueness, we're all part of a larger story written in the same language. Fact 17. Mitochondrial DNA comes only from your mother. Every cell in your body contains tiny structures called mitochondria, often called the powerhouses of the cell because they produce energy. Interestingly, the DNA inside mitochondria, called mitochondrial DNA, is inherited exclusively from your mother. It's a quiet legacy, passed down from generation to generation, like a family heirloom that travels through maternal lines. Mitochondrial DNA is different from the DNA in your chromosomes. While the chromosomal DNA comes from both parents, mitochondrial DNA only comes from your mother, giving a unique glimpse into maternal ancestry. Scientists can trace this DNA back thousands of years, uncovering journeys, migrations, and connections across time and continents. Even though it's small and simple compared to chromosomal DNA, mitochondrial DNA is crucial. It plays a vital role in energy production and helps cells perform their everyday tasks. It's amazing to think that the energy powering your heartbeats, your steps, and even your thoughts is partially guided by DNA that travelled through your mother's line for generations. Next time you feel a quiet connection to your family, remember this tiny strand of DNA inside your cells. It's a living thread linking you to mothers across countless generations, quietly shaping life as you know it. Fact 18. DNA is inherited from both parents. While mitochondrial DNA comes only from your mother, the majority of your DNA is inherited from both parents. Half of your DNA comes from your mother and half from your father, blending together to create a unique combination that makes you who you are. This mix is why family members share similarities but are still distinct from one another. DNA inheritance is like shuffling two decks of cards. Each parent contributes a set of chromosomes, which pair up to guide your growth, traits, and even some subtle tendencies. Eye color, height, hair texture, and countless other features are influenced by this combination, creating an endless variety of possible outcomes. Inheritance isn't always straightforward. Some genes are dominant, meaning they're more likely to be expressed, while others are recessive and can lie quietly until passed down again. This intricate system ensures that each child is a one-of-a-kind mixture, carrying the stories and characteristics of both parents in a delicate balance. Thinking about it this way, every person is like a living mosaic, a blend of generations past quietly encoded in DNA, creating endless diversity while still connecting us to our families and our ancestry. Fact 19. DNA helps build proteins that perform life's work. If DNA is the instruction manual, proteins are the workers carrying out the tasks inside your body. DNA contains the recipes, and proteins read these recipes to build muscles, transport oxygen, digest food, and even fight infections. Essentially, DNA tells proteins what to do, when to do it, and where to go, quietly orchestrating life's essential processes. Proteins are incredibly versatile. Some act as structural elements, giving cells shape and stability. Others serve as messengers, sending signals that coordinate complex functions across the body. Enzymes, a type of protein, speed up chemical reactions, making life possible in every moment. What's fascinating is how DNA controls which proteins are made and when. Not all proteins are needed at once, and DNA regulates their production with incredible precision. It's like a symphony, with DNA as the conductor and proteins as the musicians, playing the right notes at exactly the right time. Every heartbeat, breath, and step you take relies on this quiet teamwork. DNA isn't just a blueprint, it's a guide, a director, and a storyteller, instructing the proteins that make life happen seamlessly and beautifully. Fact 20. DNA also regulates when genes turn on and off. DNA doesn't just store instructions, it also decides when and how those instructions are used. Think of it like a library with thousands of books. DNA not only contains the books, but also determines which ones are read at a given time. This process, called gene regulation, ensures that your body functions smoothly without wasting resources. Some genes are active only during certain stages of life, while others respond to environmental signals like stress, diet, or sunlight. This dynamic control allows cells to adapt quietly to the world around them, keeping your body balanced and healthy. Gene regulation also explains why identical twins, who share the same DNA, can develop subtle differences over time. Even with identical instructions, the timing and level of gene activity can vary, creating individuality in development, behavior, and response to the environment. It's remarkable to think that within every cell, DNA is constantly making tiny decisions, turning certain genes on and off, orchestrating life with precision and care. It's the quiet control system that keeps your body running, adapting and thriving every single moment. Fact 21. A pairs with T, C pairs with G. Have you ever thought about the tiny rules that make DNA work? At the heart of it are 4 chemical bases, A, T, C, and G. These letters aren't random, they have perfect partners. A always pairs with T, and C always pairs with G. It's like a secret handshake that keeps the entire molecule stable and functional. This pairing is more than a curiosity. It's what allows DNA to copy itself accurately when cells divide. Imagine a delicate zipper that unzips and rezips perfectly every time. Each letter knows its match, making sure that the instructions for life are preserved without mistakes. It's fascinating how this simple pairing creates infinite possibilities. By combining A, T, C, and G in different sequences, DNA can encode the instructions for everything from a single cell to an entire human being. A simple rule, repeated countless times, becomes the foundation of life. Even more amazing is how this system balances simplicity and complexity. The base pairs are small and unassuming, but they form the structure of an enormous, intricate molecule that quietly orchestrates all of life. Every twist, every turn, and every pairing carries a tiny piece of the story that makes you who you are. Next time you think of DNA, imagine those 4 letters gently holding hands across the double helix, quietly shaping life with precision and elegance. Fact 22. DNA codes are like letters forming words and sentences. If DNA were a book, the 4 chemical bases, A, T, C, and G, would be its letters. But DNA isn't just random letters. They form sequences that can be thought of as words and sentences. These sequences tell cells what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Each sequence carries instructions for building proteins, which are the molecules that perform almost every task in your body. It's like reading a recipe book. Some sequences tell the cell how to make a protein, while others indicate when it should be made or how much to make. What's beautiful is that DNA's language is universal. The same letters and words are used in nearly all living organisms, from tiny bacteria to humans. That's why scientists can study DNA in a lab and apply what they learn to medicine, agriculture, and conservation. The analogy to letters and sentences also highlights the elegance of DNA. Simple elements combine in countless ways to create complex instructions, producing everything from your hair color to your immune system's defenses. DNA's code is a quiet, ongoing story, playing out in trillions of cells every second. So when you think of DNA, imagine an endless library of letters and words, softly guiding life with infinite creativity, precision, and grace. Fact 23. Codons are three-letter sequences in DNA. Just like words are made of letters, DNA organizes its letters into three-letter words called codons. Each codon acts as a small instruction, guiding the cell to make a specific amino acid, the building blocks of proteins. It's a tiny, elegant system that turns simple letters into functional molecules. There are 64 possible codons, but only 20 amino acids. That means some codons give the same instruction, adding a layer of flexibility and redundancy to the system. It's a quietly clever design, helping ensure that DNA instructions are interpreted accurately, even if small errors occur. Codons are also the bridge between DNA and proteins. They take the abstract sequence of letters and turn it into tangible action, producing the molecules that carry out life's processes. Without codons, the instructions in DNA would remain silent, untransformed into the proteins that power every heartbeat, thought, and movement. It's fascinating to imagine each codon as a tiny note in a vast symphony, guiding the cell with precision. The elegance lies in the simplicity, just three letters forming the foundation of life's complexity. Fact 24. Each codon specifies an amino acid. Every codon in DNA has a purpose. It specifies a particular amino acid. Amino acids are like building blocks, and when connected in a specific order, they form proteins, the workhorses of the cell. Think of codons as instructions in a blueprint, carefully telling the cell which pieces to put where. This system is incredibly efficient. With only 3 letters per codon, DNA can specify the full range of amino acids needed to create every protein in your body. Some codons even act as punctuation marks, signaling the start or end of a protein sequence. It's a language with rules, pauses, and meaning, quietly orchestrating the construction of life. What's amazing is how consistent this code is across all living things. The same codon in a plant produces the same amino acid as it does in a human. This universality hints at the deep connection shared by all life on Earth, woven through billions of years of evolution. So the next time you think about DNA, picture these tiny 3-letter instructions directing the cell's work with elegance, efficiency, and precision, building the molecules that make life possible. Fact 25. Proteins are chains of amino acids made from DNA instructions. Proteins are the final product of DNA's instructions, made by connecting amino acids in the order specified by codons. Think of it like beads on a string. Each amino acid is a bead, and the sequence creates the final shape and function of the protein. These proteins perform nearly every job in the cell, from building structures to transporting molecules and fighting infections. The beauty of proteins lies in their diversity. Even with the same 20 amino acids, the possible combinations are virtually endless. DNA, through codons, guides the assembly of these chains, producing everything from hemoglobin, which carries oxygen in your blood, to enzymes, which speed up chemical reactions. Proteins don't just follow DNA's instructions blindly. They fold, twist, and interact in precise ways, carrying out complex tasks with elegance and efficiency. It's as if the instructions contained both the blueprint and the choreography, telling the protein not only what to be made of, but how to move and function. Every action your body performs, breathing, thinking, moving, even digesting food, depends on this chain of instructions flowing from DNA to amino acids to proteins. It's a quiet, intricate dance happening in trillions of cells, all guided by the molecular language of life. Next time you marvel at life's complexity, remember that it all starts with a simple code of letters. forming words, forming instructions, and ultimately producing proteins that make the story of life come alive. Fact 26. DNA sequences can repeat, like gentle patterns. If you look closely at DNA, you'll notice something fascinating. Some sequences repeat themselves over and over. These repeating sequences are like soft, gentle patterns woven into the fabric of life. They aren't random. They often serve as markers, guides, or structural elements that help DNA organize itself inside the cell. Repeating sequences can help cells know where to start or stop copying DNA, or where to fold it neatly inside chromosomes. They act like punctuation in a book, creating rhythm and structure that keeps the story of life readable. Even though they may seem simple, these patterns are important for keeping DNA stable and functioning correctly. What's quietly beautiful is how repetition can create balance. Just as a gentle rhythm in music makes a melody feel harmonious, repeated sequences in DNA create order amidst complexity. They remind us that life isn't just about variation and change, it also relies on patterns that bring stability and elegance to every cell. These sequences are a subtle example of DNA's poetic design. Tiny, repeating motifs that quietly guide the flow of life, hidden inside every cell yet essential for the story of who we are. Fact 27. Some DNA sequences are junk, but may have hidden roles. For a long time, scientists thought that large parts of DNA were junk, meaning they didn't do anything useful. But over the years, this idea has changed. Some of these mysterious sequences may actually play hidden roles, like regulators, switches, or guides that influence how genes are expressed. It's almost like discovering that old notes tucked into the margins of a book weren't random scribbles. They were subtle instructions waiting to be understood. These so-called junk sequences may help control timing, protect the genome, or even influence development in ways we're only beginning to discover. The lesson here is that DNA is full of surprises. What seems unnecessary at first glance may actually be a quiet but essential part of life's complex story. Even parts of the genome that once seemed irrelevant are now recognized as contributors to evolution, diversity and adaptability. So the next time you hear about junk DNA, remember, nature often hides magic in plain sight, quietly shaping life in ways we're only starting to appreciate. Fact 28. DNA is like a library filled with instructions. Imagine walking into the world's largest library, where every book contains a set of instructions for building and running life. That's what DNA is. A library stored inside every cell, filled with stories, recipes, and blueprints that guide growth, repair, and daily function. Each gene is like a book in this library, explaining how to make a particular protein, or how to respond to a signal from the environment. Some books are read constantly, while others are consulted only occasionally, depending on the cell's needs. DNA organizes this library with incredible precision, making sure that instructions are accessible when they're needed. What's remarkable is that this library is universal. All living things, plants, animals, bacteria, use the same basic letters, the same structure, to store information. It's a library written in a quiet, consistent language, spanning billions of years of life on Earth. And just like in a real library, some sections are dusty and rarely opened, yet even these parts can hold secrets. DNA is vast, intricate, and full of subtle guidance, quietly orchestrating the story of life in ways we may never fully comprehend. Fact 29. Genetic spelling mistakes can sometimes have no effect. DNA is precise, but sometimes small spelling mistakes called mutations occur. Most of the time, these tiny changes don't make a noticeable difference. It's like a typo in a book that doesn't change the meaning of the sentence. It may exist, but life goes on without skipping a beat. Some mutations happen in parts of DNA that aren't actively used, while others occur in areas that can tolerate variation. This is nature's way of maintaining flexibility, allowing life to continue even when small changes appear. It's a quiet reassurance that perfection isn't always necessary for function. These subtle mistakes also show that DNA isn't static. It's a living, dynamic system, capable of handling small variations gracefully, while still guiding life reliably. Every typo is part of a process that balances stability and creativity, allowing evolution and adaptation to quietly unfold over time. Fact 30. Other times, mutations quietly shape evolution. While some mutations are harmless, others can have subtle or even significant effects. These changes are the quiet engines of evolution. Over generations, mutations can accumulate, introducing new traits that help species adapt to their environment. It's fascinating to think that the tiny, invisible changes in DNA are responsible for the incredible diversity of life we see today, from the stripes of a tiger to the shape of a bird's beak. Every adaptation, every variation, began as a small change in DNA silently tested by time and survival. Mutations remind us that life is not fixed. It is fluid, flexible, and ever-evolving. DNA carries not only the instructions for now, but also the potential for what could come next. In this way, evolution is a gentle story written slowly, quietly, and beautifully in the language of DNA. Fact 31. Humans share DNA with all living things. It might sound surprising, but humans share DNA with every living organism on Earth. From the tiniest bacteria to the tallest trees, all life uses the same basic building blocks. This shared DNA is like a hidden thread connecting all forms of life, a quiet reminder that we are part of a much larger story. Think of it as a universal language. The same chemical letters, A, T, C, and G, are used to store instructions in humans, dogs, birds, and even microscopic organisms. These shared sequences allow cells to perform similar essential functions, like making proteins or repairing themselves. Despite the incredible diversity of life, the molecular foundations are astonishingly similar. This connection can feel almost poetic. When you walk in a forest or look at a pond teeming with life, remember that deep down those creatures share a genetic story with you. It's a quiet, invisible network woven through billions of years of evolution. DNA shows us that life isn't just a collection of separate beings. It's a shared journey, written in the same molecular language, quietly linking all living things together. Fact 32. You share about 98% of DNA with chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are our closest living relatives, and it's reflected in our DNA. Humans share about 98% of DNA with chimps, meaning we have almost the same genetic blueprint. This similarity isn't just about appearance, it also affects behavior, physiology, and even some aspects of cognition. Imagine reading a book and realizing that most of the sentences are identical. That's what our DNA is like with chimps, almost the same text, but with subtle variations that create differences in form and function. These small changes are what make humans uniquely human, while still leaving us remarkably similar to our primate cousins. This shared DNA also helps scientists study evolution and understand human biology. By comparing our DNA with chimps, we can trace how specific traits evolved, uncovering the quiet story of how our ancestors adapted over millions of years. It's fascinating to realize that when you look at a chimpanzee, you're looking at a distant mirror, someone who shares almost all of your DNA, quietly connecting you through time and evolution. Fact 33. You share around 60% of DNA with bananas. Here's a fun twist. Humans share about 60% of our DNA with bananas. While it might sound strange, this isn't about being part fruit, it's about the basic building blocks of life. The sequences we share are mostly responsible for fundamental cellular processes like metabolism, growth, and energy production. This shows just how deeply connected all life is. Even a seemingly simple banana and human being rely on the same molecular tools to survive and thrive. The differences come from the way these shared instructions are used, arranged, and combined, resulting in the incredible diversity we see today. It's a beautiful reminder that life is built on a common foundation. Those same four letters, A, T, C, and G, quietly guide both you and a banana, performing the essential tasks that keep each of you alive. Next time you eat a banana, think of it as sharing a tiny, quiet connection with your DNA. Life is stranger and more interconnected than we often realize. Fact 34. DNA similarities reveal evolutionary history. DNA is like a time machine. By comparing sequences between species, scientists can trace evolutionary history, discovering how life branched out and diversified over millions of years. Shared sequences indicate common ancestors, while differences show the path species took as they adapted to their environments. For example, Comparing human DNA with chimps, mice, or even fish reveals points of divergence, showing when different lineages split. DNA becomes a quiet historical record, preserving events that happened long before humans even existed. This perspective can be humbling. Every organism alive today carries traces of countless generations, quietly telling the story of life's journey. DNA isn't just instructions for now, it's a living archive, preserving the past while guiding the present. It's amazing to realize that our own cells carry echoes of ancient ancestors, reminding us that we are part of an unbroken chain stretching back millions of years. Fact 35. DNA can trace migration patterns of humans. DNA doesn't just reveal ancestry, it can also trace human migration patterns. Small variations accumulate over generations, creating genetic markers that travel with populations as they move across continents. By studying these markers, scientists can reconstruct where humans originated, how they spread, and how different groups are related. For instance, mitochondrial DNA, inherited from mothers, can map maternal lineages across thousands of years. Chromosomal DNA adds another layer, revealing connections between distant populations. Together, these genetic clues tell a story of movement, adaptation, and survival. Through DNA, we can uncover journeys that predate written history, quietly recording the paths humans took to settle the world. Each person carries these traces in their cells, linking them to ancestors who walked continents long before modern maps existed. It's incredible to think that your DNA contains a subtle record of exploration and migration, a hidden diary that connects you to humanity's grand adventure across the globe. Fact 36. Ancient DNA tells stories of past civilizations. DNA isn't just about the present, it's a time capsule. Ancient DNA, recovered from old bones, teeth, or even preserved remains, can tell stories about past civilizations. It can reveal where people lived, what they looked like, and even how they were related to others in their community. Imagine uncovering a strand of DNA from someone who lived thousands of years ago. It carries whispers of their life, their ancestry, and their connection to modern populations. By studying this ancient DNA, scientists can reconstruct family trees, migration patterns, and cultural interactions that would otherwise be lost to history. What's fascinating is that DNA bridges the gap between past and present. It's like opening a window into lives long gone, quietly showing us how humans lived, moved, and evolved. Every ancient strand carries a story, a tiny echo of civilizations that shaped our world. Ancient DNA reminds us that life is a continuous narrative. Every cell in your body is part of a chain that stretches across time, linking you not just to living relatives but to ancestors whose lives are preserved in molecules, patiently waiting to be understood. Fact 37. Some DNA survives for tens of thousands of years. It's amazing to think that DNA can last incredibly long, sometimes tens of thousands of years. Under the right conditions, cold, dry, and protected from sunlight, DNA molecules can survive, holding their secrets for millennia. This makes it possible to study the genetics of creatures and humans that lived long before modern science existed. For instance, DNA recovered from ancient ice, caves, or even permafrost can tell us about extinct species, their adaptations, and how they interacted with their environment. Even tiny fragments, carefully extracted, provide clues to evolution and survival. The fact that DNA can endure this long is a quiet miracle. It's like a message in a bottle sent across time waiting to be discovered. Every preserved strand carries traces of life that existed long ago, silently connecting us to a distant past. This endurance gives scientists a tool to reconstruct history in ways that artifacts alone cannot. DNA becomes a bridge across time, quietly preserving life's stories for future generations to uncover. Fact 38. DNA in fossils helps reconstruct extinct species. Fossils are more than just shapes in stone. They sometimes hold DNA that reveals the life within. By extracting DNA from fossils, scientists can piece together information about extinct species, their appearance, their relationships to living animals, and even their behavior. Imagine uncovering the DNA of a woolly mammoth or a long-gone species of bird. With careful analysis, scientists can determine its closest relatives, its adaptations to the environment, and the story of its extinction. It's like reading a hidden chapter of Earth's history that was frozen in time. Fossil DNA helps us understand evolution not just as a concept, but as a tangible story, showing how species change, adapt, and sometimes disappear. Each molecule carries whispers of life that no longer walks the planet, yet continues to teach us about resilience, diversity, and adaptation. It's humbling to realize that even extinct creatures leave behind molecular footprints, quietly connecting the past to the present through the language of DNA. Fact 39. Neanderthal DNA is present in many modern humans. Many modern humans carry a small amount of Neanderthal DNA, a quiet legacy from ancient encounters between early humans and their distant cousins. Though we often think of Neanderthals as entirely separate, their genetic traces live on in our cells, influencing aspects of immune response, skin traits, and even certain behaviors. It's fascinating to consider that parts of your genome might come from people who lived tens of thousands of years ago, walking in forests, hunting, and surviving in a world very different from ours. These fragments of DNA are reminders of shared history and interconnection, quietly preserved in the blueprint of life. Neanderthal DNA shows that evolution is not just about survival. It's also about connection, exchange, and adaptation. Even long after their extinction, Neanderthals continue to leave traces in the story of modern humans. Every one of us carries a tiny echo of that ancient lineage, a molecular reminder that life is a continuous thread, weaving together the past and present. Fact 40. DNA quietly connects all life across the planet. Perhaps the most remarkable fact about DNA is that it connects all living things on Earth. From the simplest bacteria to the most complex animals, all life shares a molecular foundation written in the same chemical letters, A, T, C, and G. This connection is invisible but profound. It shows that no matter how different species appear on the surface, at the core, life is built on shared principles. Evolution, adaptation, and survival all flow from these common molecules, creating diversity while maintaining unity. DNA is like a thread weaving through every organism, quietly linking humans, plants, animals, and microbes in an intricate web. It's a reminder that life on Earth is not a collection of isolated beings, but a single, interconnected story stretching across time and space. When you pause and think about it, every organism you encounter shares a distant connection with you through DNA, a quiet, invisible bond that ties all living things together, reminding us of the beauty and continuity of life. Fact 41. Plants have DNA too. We often think of DNA as something only humans or animals have, but plants carry it too. Every leaf, stem, and root contains DNA, quietly guiding growth, reproduction, and survival. From towering trees to delicate flowers, DNA provides the instructions that make each plant unique. Plant DNA tells cells when to grow, when to bloom, and how to respond to sunlight, water, or changes in the environment. It's a silent architect orchestrating the life of the plant from tiny seeds to full-grown organisms. Even the way plants resist disease or recover from damage is written in their DNA. What's beautiful is that this DNA is both stable and flexible. It preserves essential functions while allowing adaptation to different climates and soils. That's why a species can survive across continents or thrive in unexpected places. Next time you admire a flower or a tree, remember, hidden inside is a blueprint of life, quietly shaping growth and resilience. DNA in plants is as vital and intricate as it is in humans, a shared language of life connecting all living things. Fact 42. DNA shapes the colours of flowers. The vibrant colours of flowers aren't random, they're guided by DNA. Tiny instructions in plant DNA determine whether petals are red, yellow, blue, or a delicate mix of shades. Pigments, like anthocyanins and carotenoids, are produced based on these genetic instructions. Colour in flowers isn't just for beauty, it serves a purpose. Bright hues attract pollinators, guiding bees, butterflies, and birds to the nectar. DNA controls the production and placement of pigments, making each flower uniquely suited to its environment and pollination strategy. Even subtle variations in DNA can create surprising patterns or gradients, producing the breathtaking diversity we see in gardens and wild landscapes. What seems like a simple splash of colour is actually the result of precise, quiet instructions embedded in plant DNA over generations. Flowers are living examples of DNA's artistry. Their beauty is not random, it's guided by molecular instructions, quietly painting the natural world with colours that both charm and sustain life. Fact 43. DNA influences animal patterns like stripes and spots. The striking stripes of a tiger or the delicate spots on a ladybug. DNA is behind it all. Patterns in animals are determined by genes that control pigment production and distribution during development. These patterns aren't just decoration. They help with camouflage, warning predators, or attracting mates. For example, a zebra's stripes are influenced by genetic instructions that determine where pigments appear and where they don't. Similarly, the spots on a leopard are guided by genes that control colour placement in a highly organised way. Every line, dot or patch is a molecular decision encoded in DNA. It's fascinating to realise that nature's artistry is not random. It's written in a language of chemical letters. Evolution tweaks these genetic instructions over time, producing new patterns that help species survive and adapt. So when you admire the natural beauty of animal markings, you're also witnessing the quiet handiwork of DNA, sculpting life with precision, function, and elegance. Fact 44. DNA guides seasonal behaviours in birds and insects. DNA doesn't just shape how creatures look, it also influences how they behave. Seasonal behaviours, like bird migration or insect hibernation, are guided by genetic instructions. These behaviours are finely tuned to environmental cues, like temperature and daylight, ensuring survival and reproduction. For example, DNA controls the internal clocks of birds, helping them know when to fly south for winter or return in spring. Insects like monarch butterflies have migration paths encoded in subtle genetic programs, combined with environmental learning. These behaviours are quietly coordinated by DNA, ensuring timing and precision. Even subtle changes in DNA can affect these behaviours, allowing species to adapt to shifting climates or new habitats. It's a delicate balance, with genetics and environment working together to guide survival. The quiet coordination of these behaviours shows that DNA is not just a blueprint. It's a guide for life's rhythms, connecting organisms to the cycles of the Earth. Fact 45. DNA can help species adapt to the environment. Adaptation is one of life's quiet miracles, and DNA is at the centre of it. Genes carry instructions that can change over generations, allowing species to survive in new or changing environments. This process is gradual, subtle, and continuous, quietly shaping life over time. For instance, animals living in cold climates may develop thicker fur, while plants in dry regions produce deeper roots. These traits are guided by DNA, which responds to selection pressures and passes on helpful variations to offspring. Even tiny mutations can make a big difference, offering new possibilities for survival. DNA provides the flexibility life needs. It preserves essential functions while allowing adaptation, ensuring that species can thrive in changing conditions. This quiet power of DNA underlies evolution, diversity, and resilience, connecting all living things through an invisible, ongoing process. Adaptation shows that DNA isn't just static instructions, it's a living guide, helping life navigate challenges, change, and flourish across the planet. Fact 46. Some DNA sequences are conserved across millions of years. Within the vast expanse of DNA, certain sequences remain almost unchanged across millions of years. These conserved sequences are like ancient messages, quietly preserved because they perform essential functions that life cannot do without. For example, genes that control basic cell processes, like energy production or DNA repair, are often highly conserved. Any major changes in these sequences could be catastrophic, so evolution protects them, keeping the instructions consistent across species and time. It's amazing to think that a tiny stretch of DNA in your cells could be almost identical to one in a jellyfish, a fish, or even a tiny insect. These sequences are living echoes of life's early days, carrying whispers of evolution that have endured through countless generations. Conserved DNA reminds us that life is both flexible and enduring. While organisms evolve and adapt, some fundamental instructions remain steadfast, quietly connecting all living things through time. Fact 47. Viruses carry DNA or RNA as their genetic code. Not all life is as large or complex as plants and animals. Viruses, tiny entities that exist at the edge of life, also carry genetic instructions, either DNA or RNA. These sequences tell the virus how to reproduce, often by hijacking the machinery of other living cells. While viruses aren't technically alive on their own, their genetic material plays a crucial role in ecosystems. Viruses can influence evolution, drive diversity, and even help species adapt by transferring genes between organisms. The quiet elegance of viral DNA and RNA lies in its simplicity. A tiny string of letters can carry instructions powerful enough to impact entire populations, ecosystems, or even human history. Despite their small size, viruses are part of the same genetic web that connects all life. Viruses show that DNA isn't just for complex organisms, it's the language of life at every scale, from the microscopic to the majestic. Fact 48. Bacteria swap DNA to survive and evolve. Bacteria are masters of adaptation, and one of their most fascinating tricks is swapping DNA. Through processes like conjugation, transformation, or transduction, bacteria can exchange genetic material with each other, quietly sharing instructions that can help them survive new challenges. This ability allows bacteria to quickly develop resistance to antibiotics, digest new foods, or thrive in harsh environments. DNA becomes a shared resource, a flexible toolkit that evolves not just through slow mutations, but through active exchange between organisms. It's a reminder that DNA is dynamic and interactive. Even microscopic life uses it to adapt, innovate, and survive, highlighting the quiet intelligence built into the molecular machinery of life. The swapping of DNA in bacteria shows that evolution isn't only a slow process, it can happen in real time, quietly shaping life in response to its surroundings. Fact 49. DNA controls circadian rhythms in many organisms. DNA doesn't just guide physical traits, it also shapes internal rhythms. Circadian rhythms, the 24-hour cycles that regulate sleep, metabolism, and behavior, are controlled in part by DNA. Genes produce proteins that rise and fall in predictable patterns, setting the clock for cells, tissues, and entire organisms. In humans, circadian rhythms influence sleep cycles, hormone release, and even mood. In plants, they regulate when flowers open or close. In insects and animals, they guide feeding, migration, and mating behaviors. DNA quietly orchestrates these daily routines, ensuring life flows in harmony with the environment. It's incredible to think that the tiny letters of DNA are responsible for the rhythms of life, from the sunrise to the movements of a hummingbird, guiding living beings in a subtle, ongoing dance. Fact 50. DNA is a quiet storyteller of life's history. Perhaps the most poetic fact about DNA is that it tells stories, silently and patiently. Every sequence is a record of ancestry, adaptation, survival, and change. From ancient conserved genes to newly mutated sequences, DNA carries the narrative of life across generations. Through DNA, scientists can trace evolution, uncover migration patterns, reconstruct extinct species, and even connect humans to the broader web of life. Each cell contains a microcosm of history, a chronicle of the past written in chemical letters. Even mutations, repeated sequences, and variations are chapters in this ongoing story shaping life quietly and gradually. DNA reminds us that life is continuous, connected, and full of subtle lessons about resilience, adaptation, and beauty. It's humbling to realize that every organism, from a simple microbe to a human, is part of this story, linked through the same molecular language that has been writing life's narrative for billions of years. Fact 51. DNA influences disease risk. DNA is more than a blueprint for our appearance. It also quietly influences our health. Some genetic sequences can increase the risk of certain illnesses, while others may provide natural protection. This means that hidden within our cells are instructions that subtly shape how our bodies respond to challenges. For example, variations in genes can affect how the body fights infections, repairs cells, or metabolizes nutrients. Some people may be more prone to conditions like heart disease, diabetes, or certain cancers because of these inherited instructions. But it's important to remember that DNA is just one piece of the puzzle. Lifestyle, environment, and chance also play huge roles in health. Understanding how DNA affects disease risk gives scientists and doctors insight into the quiet workings of the body. It's like reading a map that shows potential challenges and possibilities, allowing individuals to make informed choices and take preventative measures. Even though these risks exist silently in our DNA, Awareness and modern science give us tools to navigate life more safely, highlighting the practical power hidden in our genetic code. Fact 52. Genetic testing reads, "Your DNA genetic testing is a fascinating window into the secrets hidden in our cells. By examining DNA, scientists can identify specific genes, variations, or mutations that influence traits, ancestry, and health. It's like opening a book written in a language that's entirely yours, revealing stories and instructions that have been quietly waiting for discovery. Tests can show family connections, uncover predispositions to certain conditions, or even reveal how your body might respond to medications. The process is simple in concept. A small sample of saliva or blood contains the DNA, which is then carefully analysed to decode its letters. What's amazing is that this information doesn't just help you understand yourself, it also connects you to generations before you. Some of the sequences reflect ancestors' adaptations, migrations, and even survival strategies. DNA testing lets us read this hidden story, quietly bridging past, present, and future. Through this lens, DNA becomes more than a molecule. It becomes a guide, a storyteller, and a tool that can help people navigate life with knowledge and insight. Fact 53. Some genes increase susceptibility to certain illnesses. Not all genes affect everyone the same way. Some carry instructions that make individuals more susceptible to particular illnesses. For instance, certain gene variants are linked to increased risk of heart disease, breast cancer, or neurological conditions. These variations don't guarantee illness. They simply tilt the odds slightly, quietly influencing outcomes over a lifetime. These susceptibility genes work alongside lifestyle and environmental factors, creating a complex interplay that determines health. For example, someone may have a gene associated with diabetes, but diet, exercise, and other factors will influence whether the disease actually develops. Understanding these genes allows doctors to offer personalized advice and interventions. They become a quiet early warning system, a map hidden inside our DNA that highlights potential challenges. It's fascinating to think that even microscopic variations can have significant effects, shaping life in subtle ways. DNA doesn't dictate destiny. It simply provides insight, a gentle guide to understanding the body and its possibilities. Fact 54. DNA can predict some traits long before birth. DNA begins shaping who we are long before we see the light of day. From eye color and hair texture to certain health traits, many characteristics are written in our DNA at conception. This molecular blueprint quietly sets the stage for our growth, development, and even some aspects of personality. Genetic testing during pregnancy can reveal these traits, offering parents a glimpse into what may lie ahead. While the predictions are never absolute, environment and chance still play huge roles. They provide fascinating insight into the quiet power of DNA. Even subtle variations in genes can influence how a child develops, affecting everything from metabolism to disease risk. These early instructions show that DNA isn't just a set of static letters. It's a dynamic, ongoing guide that quietly shapes life from the very beginning. The idea that our future selves are partially written in our DNA is both humbling and magical, revealing the intricate foresight encoded in every cell. Fact 55. Personalized medicine uses DNA to guide treatments. One of the most exciting applications of DNA knowledge is personalized medicine. By understanding a person's unique genetic makeup, doctors can tailor treatments, medications, and interventions to work best for that individual. It's a quiet revolution in healthcare, moving away from one-size-fits-all approaches. For example, some medications work better or worse, depending on specific genetic variants. Personalized medicine uses this information to choose the most effective therapies, reduce side effects, and improve outcomes. It's like having a roadmap written specifically for your body, guiding care in a precise and gentle way. DNA also helps doctors anticipate disease risks, monitor responses to treatments, and even design preventative strategies. By listening to the quiet instructions within our cells, science can provide care that is smarter, gentler, and more effective than ever before. This approach shows the incredible power hidden in our DNA. It's not just a blueprint, it's a guide, a storyteller, and a silent partner in maintaining and improving life. Fact 56. DNA repair mechanisms prevent many mutations. DNA is constantly under pressure from things like sunlight, chemicals, and normal cellular processes. Luckily, cells have built-in repair mechanisms that quietly correct many mistakes before they become problems. Think of it as a team of tiny caretakers, tirelessly scanning DNA to ensure its instructions remain accurate. These repair systems detect errors in the DNA sequence, like a typo in a book, and fix them, keeping the genetic story readable. Without these mechanisms, mutations could accumulate rapidly, potentially causing disease or disrupting essential functions. What's fascinating is the elegance and precision of this system. Cells can identify exactly where a mistake occurred and often repair it perfectly, like rewinding and carefully retyping a letter in an ancient manuscript. Even when some errors slip through, repair mechanisms minimize their impact, maintaining life's continuity. DNA repair reminds us that life is resilient. It quietly maintains stability amidst chaos, ensuring that the story of life continues without too many interruptions. Fact 57. Telomeres protect the ends of DNA strands. Imagine your DNA as a shoelace. At the ends, there are protective caps called telomeres, which prevent the DNA from unraveling or fraying. These tiny structures quietly safeguard the integrity of our chromosomes, keeping the instructions intact through countless rounds of cell division. Every time a cell divides, telomeres get slightly shorter. Over time, this gradual shortening can influence cell function and longevity. Without telomeres, chromosomes could fuse, break, or become unstable, disrupting the delicate story encoded in DNA. Telomeres are a beautiful example of life's quiet ingenuity. They act as buffers, preserving genetic information while allowing cells to grow and reproduce safely. It's fascinating to think that something so small can have such a significant role in maintaining life's order. Fact 58. Telomere length can affect aging. Telomeres do more than protect DNA. They're subtly linked to aging. As cells divide over time, telomeres shorten, and when they become too short, the cell can no longer divide safely. This process is part of what contributes to the natural aging of tissues and organs. Scientists have observed that individuals with longer telomeres often have cells that remain healthier for longer periods. Conversely, shortened telomeres are associated with age-related decline in some diseases. While telomeres aren't the whole story of aging, they're a fascinating molecular clock, quietly ticking in every cell. The study of telomeres reminds us that life has built-in systems to measure time. Even at a microscopic level, DNA carries a history of cellular life and the subtle passage of time, influencing how organisms age and adapt. Fact 59. Lifestyle may subtly influence DNA expression. DNA doesn't operate in isolation. Lifestyle factors, like diet, exercise, stress, and sleep, can subtly influence how genes are expressed. This means that while your genetic code provides the instructions, the environment can determine which genes are turned on or turned off at any given moment. For instance, exercise can activate genes involved in muscle growth and metabolism, while chronic stress can influence genes related to inflammation. These changes don't alter the DNA sequence itself, but modify how the instructions are read, creating a quiet dialogue between life and environment. This subtle interplay highlights the dynamic nature of DNA. It isn't a rigid blueprint, it's a responsive system, capable of adapting to experiences and circumstances. Lifestyle choices can gently guide the expression of DNA, influencing health, resilience, and overall well-being. Fact 60. Epigenetics is the study of DNA switches and layers. Epigenetics is the study of the hidden layers of control over DNA, like switches that determine which genes are active and which remain silent. These switches can be influenced by environment, lifestyle, and even experiences, adding a rich layer of regulation beyond the DNA sequence itself. Through epigenetics, cells can respond to changes, adapt to stress, or specialize into different types of tissue, all without altering the underlying genetic code. It's like having a control panel for DNA, quietly adjusting activity to meet life's demands. Epigenetic changes can sometimes even be passed to future generations, allowing experiences to leave subtle imprints on descendants. This adds another dimension to the story of DNA. It's not just inherited from ancestors, it's shaped, layer by layer, by life itself. Epigenetics reminds us that DNA is alive in more ways than one. It is both a blueprint and a responsive system, silently guiding the rhythms and adaptations of life across generations. Fact 61. DNA can be copied with PCR. One of the most fascinating tools in modern science is PCR, or polymerase chain reaction. This technique allows scientists to make millions of copies of a tiny piece of DNA, amplifying it so that it can be studied, analyzed, or used in research. Think of it like taking a single page from an enormous library and printing hundreds of identical copies, each containing the same instructions. PCR is incredibly precise, replicating the DNA without changing its sequence, which allows researchers to work with very small samples, even a single drop of blood or a tiny hair. This ability to copy DNA quietly transforms biology. It helps detect diseases early, analyze ancient samples, study biodiversity, and even solve crimes. PCR makes the invisible visible, allowing scientists to read life's instructions clearly. What's magical about PCR is how simple it seems in concept, yet how powerful it is. By repeating a tiny sequence over and over, it unlocks secrets hidden in every cell, showing that even the smallest piece of DNA can carry immense information. Fact 62. CRISPR allows precise DNA editing. CRISPR is like a molecular pair of scissors guided by GPS. It allows scientists to target specific sequences of DNA and make precise edits, cutting, replacing, or even repairing genes. This tool opens possibilities for medicine, agriculture, and understanding life itself. With CRISPR, we can explore ways to correct genetic disorders, study the effects of individual genes, or engineer crops that are more resilient. The technology is quietly revolutionary because it works at the level of the genetic code, manipulating the instructions that define life. What's fascinating is the elegance and simplicity of the system. CRISPR uses natural bacterial defenses as a blueprint, showing how nature often provides solutions that can be adapted for human use. It's like finding a hidden manual in life's library, giving us a gentle but powerful way to rewrite or refine instructions. CRISPR reminds us that DNA is not just a static blueprint. It's editable, dynamic, and full of potential, allowing humans to interact with life's code in thoughtful, precise ways. Fact 63. Scientists can read the entire human genome. The human genome is a vast library of 3 billion letters, quietly carrying the story of life. Thanks to advances in sequencing technology, scientists can now read the entire human genome, uncovering every gene, sequence, and variation. This achievement allows us to understand the blueprint of life more completely than ever before. We can identify genes linked to diseases, trace ancestry, study evolution, and explore the subtle differences that make each individual unique. Reading the genome is like opening a book with billions of words, each one contributing to a story that has been unfolding for thousands of generations. It is both humbling and inspiring to realize that the instructions for life are written in such a compact, elegant format, patiently waiting to be explored. The human genome shows us that DNA is more than chemistry. It is a living archive, a quiet storyteller, and a guide to understanding who we are and where we come from. Fact 64. DNA barcoding identifies species. DNA barcoding is a remarkable tool that uses short, unique sequences in DNA to identify species. It's like giving every living organism a molecular ID card, making it possible to distinguish one species from another, even if they look very similar. This method has transformed biodiversity studies, helping scientists discover new species, monitor ecosystems, and track invasive or endangered species. DNA barcoding works quietly and efficiently, revealing life's hidden diversity in ways that traditional observation cannot. Imagine being able to identify a tiny insect, a rare fish, or a mysterious plant with a small DNA sample. Each sequence is a barcode, a code that links the organism to its place in the tree of life. It's a quiet but powerful way to understand and protect the natural world. DNA barcoding reminds us that even the tiniest sequences carry vast stories, waiting to be read, connecting us to the incredible diversity of life on Earth. Fact 65. DNA fingerprints solve mysteries quietly. DNA fingerprints are one of the most intriguing applications of genetics. By analyzing unique patterns in DNA, scientists can identify individuals, link people to objects or places, and solve mysteries. often without anyone noticing the quiet work behind the scenes. This technique has revolutionized forensic science, allowing investigators to confirm identities in criminal cases, uncover family relationships, and even exonerate the innocent. Every person's DNA pattern is unique, except in the case of identical twins, making it a reliable, silent tool for discovery. DNA fingerprints are fascinating because they operate subtly, often in the background. They quietly carry information about identity, ancestry, and biological connections, turning invisible molecules into powerful evidence. It's remarkable to realize that tiny sequences of DNA, invisible to the eye, can speak volumes about who we are, quietly solving puzzles and connecting the past to the present. Fact 66. Synthetic DNA can be created in labs. It's fascinating to think that DNA, the very blueprint of life, can now be created entirely in a laboratory. Scientists can design and assemble synthetic DNA strands, crafting sequences that don't even exist in nature. This isn't science fiction. It's happening quietly in labs around the world. Synthetic DNA allows researchers to study genes in new ways, test hypotheses, and even create molecules that could one day be used in medicine or biotechnology. By building DNA from scratch, scientists can explore life at its most fundamental level, experimenting with sequences to understand how each letter of the genetic code contributes to function and form. What's beautiful about synthetic DNA is that it highlights how flexible life's code can be. It shows that DNA isn't just a record of what has already happened, it's also a medium for creativity and discovery, a language that can be rewritten under careful guidance. This technology opens possibilities that feel almost magical. From developing new medicines to understanding evolution in entirely new ways, synthetic DNA shows us that the quiet letters of life can be rearranged, tested, and explored without harming natural organisms. Fact 67. DNA can store digital information. DNA isn't just for biology. It can also store digital information. Because DNA can hold immense amounts of data in an incredibly compact form, scientists are experimenting with encoding digital files, from text to images, directly into DNA sequences. Imagine compressing thousands of books, music files, or photographs into a microscopic strand of DNA. Unlike traditional storage, DNA doesn't require electricity and can last for centuries if preserved correctly. It's like a futuristic library hidden inside a molecule, quietly holding vast amounts of information in a tiny space. This isn't just theoretical. Researchers have successfully encoded and retrieved digital data from DNA, proving that the genetic code can serve a dual purpose, preserving both life and information. The possibilities are mind-bending: long-term archives, space-saving storage, and even ultra-resilient backups for humanity's knowledge. DNA as a storage medium shows how life's blueprint can inspire innovation, blending the natural world with human technology in quiet, ingenious ways. Fact 68. Scientists are exploring DNA data storage as futuristic libraries. Taking the idea further, scientists are envisioning entire futuristic libraries built on DNA. Instead of rows of shelves and paper, these libraries could exist in tiny test tubes or microchips, storing the collective knowledge of humanity in molecules no bigger than a grain of sand. DNA's stability and density make it ideal for preserving information over centuries. A single gram could hold billions of gigabytes, allowing researchers to archive everything from historical records to modern scientific data. Unlike traditional media, DNA doesn't degrade quickly and can survive environmental changes if stored properly. These DNA-based libraries are like time capsules for the human story. Future generations could read them, accessing knowledge quietly preserved in a medium inspired by life itself. It's a beautiful convergence of biology and technology, bridging the natural and human-made worlds. Fact 69. DNA technology is reshaping medicine. DNA technology is quietly transforming medicine, offering more precise, personalized, and powerful tools than ever before. From genetic testing to gene editing, DNA allows doctors to understand the blueprint of life at an individual level, guiding treatments and predicting risks. Modern medicine can now identify genetic disorders before symptoms appear, tailor therapies to a person's unique DNA, and even explore ways to correct faulty genes. Treatments that once seemed impossible are becoming reality, quietly guided by the molecular instructions written in every cell. The impact goes beyond treatment. It's changing how we think about health and prevention. DNA technology offers a new perspective, one that listens to the silent guidance of our genes, helping humanity take better care of itself in ways that are precise, subtle, and profoundly effective. Fact 70. DNA is a bridge between nature and technology. Perhaps the most poetic aspect of DNA is its role as a bridge between nature and technology. The same molecule that encodes the life of every organism on Earth is now inspiring innovations, from data storage to medicine. DNA connects the living world with human ingenuity, showing that the language of life can also guide human creativity. Through DNA, we can explore life, understand history, store knowledge, and even design solutions for the future. It's a quiet, elegant bridge linking biology and technology, past and future, nature and human innovation. DNA reminds us that the building blocks of life are not only essential for survival, they're a source of inspiration, a guide, and a storyteller. In every strand there is both life and possibility, quietly waiting to be read, explored, and imagined. Fact 71. DNA coils like soft spirals in cells. Inside every cell, DNA isn't just a long string of letters, it coils and twists gracefully, forming soft spirals. This coiling is essential because DNA is incredibly long, yet it must fit inside tiny cell nuclei. Imagine a long ribbon gently winding into delicate loops, storing information efficiently while staying ready for use. These spirals aren't static, they're just as needed. When a gene needs to be read, the coil can loosen slightly, giving access to the instructions. When a section isn't required, it winds tightly, conserving space and protecting itself from damage. It's a quiet choreography, happening continuously inside every cell, invisible to the eye but essential for life. The elegant coiling of DNA shows that even microscopic molecules follow principles of beauty and efficiency. Life isn't just functional, it's quietly organized, sophisticated, and graceful at every level, from cells to entire organisms. Fact 72. Your body contains trillions of cells, each with DNA. Your body is a universe of tiny worlds, trillions of cells, each one housing its own set of DNA instructions. Every heart cell, neuron, and skin cell carries the complete blueprint of your body, quietly guiding growth, repair, and function. Even though each cell has the same DNA, they specialize in different tasks. Muscle cells contract, nerve cells transmit signals, and skin cells form protective layers, all thanks to the way DNA instructions are interpreted in context. It's like billions of tiny libraries, each following the same master script but creating different chapters of life. This sheer scale is breathtaking. Every movement you make, every thought, and every heartbeat is supported by DNA quietly operating in countless cells, orchestrating life with invisible precision. It's humbling to realize that the story of you exists not in one place, but across trillions of interconnected DNA-guided worlds within your own body. Fact 73. DNA can stretch without breaking like soft silk. Although DNA is microscopic, it's surprisingly resilient. The molecule can stretch, bend, and twist without breaking, almost like soft silk. This flexibility is vital because DNA must be folded, coiled, and packed into tiny spaces while remaining functional. When cells divide or repair damage, DNA stretches and untangles, moving like a graceful thread without losing its integrity. Its elasticity ensures that the information it carries remains intact, even under stress. The soft resilience of DNA is a subtle reminder that life combines strength with flexibility. It must adapt, bend, and respond, yet maintain its core instructions, a quiet elegance built into the molecule itself. Fact 74. DNA twists in elegant patterns called supercoils. Beyond coiling, DNA can twist into intricate shapes called supercoils. Imagine a spiral twisted upon itself, forming higher-order loops that compact and organize the molecule efficiently. Supercoiling helps fit long DNA strands into tiny cell nuclei and plays a role in gene regulation. These twists aren't random, they're carefully controlled, allowing cells to access the right genes at the right time. Supercoiling also protects DNA from damage, acting as a form of molecular armor while maintaining flexibility. Watching DNA at this level is like observing a delicate, invisible sculpture, twisting and turning in harmony with life's rhythm. It's not just science, it's molecular artistry, quietly shaping the story of every living cell. Fact 75. Only a tiny fraction of DNA codes for proteins. Even though DNA carries all the instructions for life, only a small portion actually codes for proteins. The rest, once called junk DNA, has roles we're still discovering, from regulating genes to guiding development and responding to the environment. It's fascinating to think that most of our DNA is more like a library of hints, signals, and control instructions rather than direct blueprints. This non-coding DNA contributes to the subtle orchestration of life, influencing which genes turn on or off, and when, sometimes in response to experiences or environmental changes. This tiny coding fraction works alongside the vast non-coding regions to ensure life functions smoothly. DNA is both a blueprint and a symphony, with every section contributing to the quiet, complex dance of life inside cells. Fact 76. Some DNA switches work like dimmers. Not on-off DNA isn't just a static code, it has switches that control gene activity. But these switches aren't always simple on-off buttons. Some work like dimmers, gently adjusting how much a gene is expressed. It's as if DNA can whisper rather than shout, subtly tuning life's processes with incredible precision. For example, a gene might be expressed at a low level in one situation, producing just enough protein to meet a cell's needs. Under different conditions, the same gene can ramp up, responding to signals from the environment or the body. These dimmer-like switches allow cells to adapt and function smoothly without overreacting. This subtle control shows that DNA is not rigid. It's dynamic, responsive, and full of nuance. Life is orchestrated through these quiet adjustments, creating harmony between genes, cells, and the environment. It's a reminder that even at a microscopic level, balance and elegance guide the story of life. Fact 77. Your DNA silently communicates with cellular machinery. DNA is never truly silent. Even though it may seem passive, it communicates constantly with the cellular machinery that reads, copies, and repairs it. Proteins, enzymes, and molecular complexes interpret DNA's instructions, responding to chemical signals and adjusting processes in real time. Think of it as a quiet conversation happening inside every cell. DNA sends messages, and the machinery interprets them, ensuring that growth, repair, and gene expression happen at the right time and place. This communication is subtle but essential, guiding life without any fanfare. The elegance of this system is remarkable. It works silently, reliably, and continuously, showing that even the smallest molecules are part of a complex interactive dialogue that keeps life functioning. DNA isn't just a blueprint. It's a communicator quietly orchestrating the rhythms of cells. Fact 78. Some DNA sequences are identical to ancient ancestors. A fascinating fact about DNA is that parts of it have remained unchanged for millions of years. These sequences are shared across generations, connecting us to ancient ancestors and even to distant relatives in other species. It's like a living bridge to the past, carrying messages that have survived time, evolution, and environmental changes. For example, certain genes essential for cell function or metabolism are so critical that evolution preserves them almost perfectly. By studying these sequences, scientists can trace lineage, uncover relationships, and understand how life has remained stable while continuously adapting. This continuity is humbling. Every strand of DNA carries echoes of ancient life, reminding us that we're not only shaped by our parents, but also connected to a vast ongoing story of survival and evolution. DNA is a quiet storyteller, linking past and present in ways we're only beginning to understand. Fact 79. DNA quietly balances stability and change. DNA has a delicate job. It must remain stable to preserve life's instructions, yet flexible enough to allow change and adaptation. This balance between stability and change is crucial. Too much stability could prevent evolution. Too much change could disrupt essential functions. Mutations, repair mechanisms, and regulatory systems all work together to maintain this balance. Some changes are small and almost invisible, while others drive evolutionary leaps over generations. DNA manages this quietly, maintaining life while allowing it to grow, adapt, and diversify. This balance is an elegant example of nature's wisdom. Life is resilient because DNA is both reliable and adaptable, offering stability without sacrificing the potential for innovation. It quietly ensures that life continues, generation after generation. Fact 80. Every cell division faithfully copies DNA millions of times. Every time a cell divides, it must copy its DNA accurately. Millions of letters must be replicated without mistakes. This process is astonishingly precise. Molecular machinery reads the original DNA and creates a new strand, ensuring that each daughter cell inherits a faithful copy of the genetic blueprint. Even with trillions of divisions happening in the body over a lifetime, DNA replication is remarkably accurate. Errors are rare, and repair systems correct most mistakes, preserving the instructions for life quietly and efficiently. This fidelity allows life to flourish, ensuring that organisms grow, heal, and reproduce without losing the essence of their genetic story. Every division is a tiny miracle, a testament to the incredible design and precision built into DNA. Fact 81. Scientists are still discovering unknown DNA functions. Even after decades of research, DNA still holds secrets. Scientists continue to uncover unexpected functions hidden in the vast stretches of our genetic code. While we know a lot about genes that make proteins, much of DNA's activity remains mysterious, quietly influencing biology in ways we are just beginning to understand. Some non-coding regions, once dismissed as junk, may regulate genes, affect development, or respond to environmental signals. Others could play roles in aging, memory, or subtle behavioral traits. Each new discovery feels like opening a hidden drawer in life's blueprint, revealing surprises written long ago in the language of DNA. This ongoing exploration reminds us that life is far more complex than we imagine. DNA is not just a static code, it's a dynamic, evolving system. Its mysteries invite curiosity, offering endless opportunities to learn, wonder, and marvel at the quiet intelligence of nature. Fact 82. Non-coding DNA may influence complex traits. The majority of DNA does not directly code for proteins, yet it can influence complex traits in subtle ways. Non-coding DNA acts like a control center, guiding how and when genes are expressed. It can affect everything from metabolism and immunity to behavior and cognitive abilities. These regions may work like dials, gently adjusting gene activity instead of turning them fully on or off. For example, two people with identical protein-coding genes might display different traits because of subtle instructions in non-coding DNA. It's fascinating to realize that life's complexity isn't just in the genes themselves, but in the nuanced ways they are regulated. Non-coding DNA is like the quiet conductor behind the orchestra, shaping patterns, timing, and outcomes with gentle precision. This insight shows that DNA is more than a simple blueprint. It's a rich, layered system, capable of subtle influence that helps create the diversity and complexity of life we see every day. Fact 83. DNA sometimes folds into unusual shapes. DNA isn't always a neat double helix. It can fold into unusual and beautiful shapes, like loops, knots, and hairpins. These structural variations help organize genetic material, regulate gene activity, and protect fragile regions of DNA from damage. Some of these unusual shapes act as signals, telling the cell where to start or stop reading a gene. Others influence how DNA interacts with proteins, guiding replication and repair. Even small twists or loops can have large effects on how life's instructions are interpreted. This dynamic folding shows that DNA is not a rigid ladder. It's a living, flexible structure. Its twists and turns are part of an elegant choreography that balances protection, accessibility, and function, quietly ensuring that every cell operates smoothly. It's almost poetic to imagine the DNA inside your cells, twisting and folding like a delicate ribbon, carrying the story of life in intricate patterns unseen by the eye. Fact 84. Some viruses leave traces in our DNA over millions of years. Some viruses have left traces of themselves embedded in our DNA. These viral sequences, called endogenous retroviruses, have become a part of our genome, quietly persisting and sometimes even contributing to important functions. For example, some viral sequences have been co-opted to help regulate gene expression, or even assist in the development of the placenta in mammals. While these traces were once considered junk, they are now recognized as part of the complex tapestry of life. a reminder that evolution is a dialogue between many forms of genetic information. The idea that viruses can leave lasting marks in DNA shows that life is interconnected in unexpected ways. Our genomes carry a subtle record of encounters with other organisms, a quiet history written in the language of genes. Fact 85. DNA can self-repair when gently damaged. One of the most remarkable features of DNA is its ability to self-repair. Even when gently damaged by everyday factors like sunlight or chemical reactions, DNA can often correct itself, maintaining the integrity of its instructions. Specialized enzymes detect errors, remove damaged sections, and rebuild the sequence precisely. This process happens continuously and quietly, without fanfare, ensuring that life's instructions remain accurate and reliable. The self-repairing nature of DNA shows that life is resilient. Even at a microscopic level, systems are in place to preserve stability while allowing adaptation and growth. DNA isn't just a static code, it's an active participant in maintaining life, quietly monitoring and correcting itself to keep the story of every cell running smoothly. Fact 86. Tiny chemical tags on DNA influence gene expression. DNA doesn't work alone. It carries tiny chemical tags that act like subtle signals, influencing how genes are expressed. These tags, part of a field called epigenetics, can turn genes up or down, adjust timing, and even affect how cells respond to the environment. Think of these tags as delicate post-it notes on a library of instructions, quietly guiding which books are opened and read. Some tags may activate a gene in response to stress, while others keep genes silent when they aren't needed. These small chemical signals allow cells to fine-tune life's processes without altering the DNA sequence itself. What's beautiful is how responsive and dynamic this system is. Life can adapt quietly, modifying gene activity based on experience, nutrition, or environmental factors. Tiny chemical tags remind us that DNA is not just a fixed blueprint, it's a living script, capable of subtle adjustments that shape our biology in ways we're still discovering. Fact 87. Some DNA sequences act as internal clocks inside DNA. Certain sequences function like internal clocks, guiding rhythms and cycles in cells. These sequences help regulate timing for processes such as cell division, protein production, and circadian rhythms. In a way, DNA keeps time, ensuring that life's events unfold in a smooth, coordinated fashion. For instance, genes controlling sleep-wake cycles or seasonal behaviors in animals follow these internal timers. Even at the microscopic level, DNA orchestrates rhythms that connect cells to each other and to the environment. This quiet timekeeping shows that DNA isn't just about structure or instructions, it's also about coordination and harmony. Life has its own rhythm, guided by sequences that tick silently in every cell, shaping the flow of biology with precision and grace. Fact 88. DNA sometimes forms loops to communicate across distances. DNA isn't always a straight or coiled line. It can fold into loops, bringing distant regions close together. These loops allow different parts of DNA to communicate, coordinating gene expression in a way that is both efficient and elegant. Imagine a ribbon folded so that letters far apart in the sequence suddenly come into contact. Proteins can bridge these loops, activating or repressing genes in ways that allow the cell to respond quickly to changes. This looping mechanism is a subtle form of long-distance conversation within DNA, quietly guiding life's complex choreography. The formation of loops shows that DNA is not static. It moves, bends, and interacts, creating networks of communication that maintain balance and adaptability across the genome. It's another reminder that life operates in layers of quiet sophistication. Fact 89. Rare mutations quietly shape evolution over centuries. While DNA strives for stability, rare mutations inevitably occur. Most are harmless or corrected, but occasionally a mutation provides an advantage, quietly influencing evolution over centuries. These small changes accumulate, gradually shaping species, traits, and adaptations. For example, subtle mutations in genes can improve resistance to disease, enhance metabolism, or influence physical traits. Though invisible in the short term, over long spans of time, these mutations guide the diversity of life we see today. Evolution is like a slow, gentle editor of DNA, making small adjustments that ripple across generations. It's a quiet process, yet its effects are profound. demonstrating how life constantly adapts while maintaining its underlying blueprint. Fact 90. DNA is both ancient and ever-renewing DNA, carries the legacy of life itself. Some sequences have persisted for millions of years, connecting modern organisms to ancient ancestors. At the same time, DNA is continuously renewed, copied, repaired, and occasionally altered, keeping life dynamic and adaptable. Every cell division, every replication, every repair is part of this ongoing renewal. While ancient sequences provide stability, new variations allow evolution, diversity, and adaptation. DNA is a living archive, storing history while quietly preparing for the future. This dual nature, ancient yet ever-renewing, makes DNA profoundly poetic. It is a bridge across time, linking generations, species, and the quiet unfolding of life. In every strand, there is both history and possibility, a testament to life's resilience and continuity. Fact 91. DNA is the whisper of life itself. DNA is like a quiet whisper running through every cell, softly guiding life without ever calling attention to itself. It doesn't announce its presence, it simply works, ensuring that every heartbeat, every breath, and every movement happens as it should. This whisper is carried in the chemical letters of DNA, silently instructing cells when to grow, divide, or repair themselves. Unlike loud signals, DNA's guidance is gentle but constant, operating behind the scenes to maintain the flow of life. It's humbling to imagine that this tiny molecule, invisible to the eye, carries the instructions for everything that makes you, well, you. DNA's whisper is subtle, yet profound, a quiet guardian of life that connects every moment to a vast and intricate story. Fact 92. Every twist tells a story. Millions of years old DNA doesn't just code for the present, it carries the story of life stretching back millions of years. Every twist, loop, and coil in the molecule reflects countless generations, environmental pressures, and evolutionary journeys. Even tiny sequences have histories. Some have remained unchanged because they are essential for survival, while others have evolved slowly, adapting to new challenges. By reading DNA, scientists can trace these ancient stories, discovering how life has endured and transformed over time. Every twist is like a paragraph in a vast ongoing book, reminding us that life is continuous. Our cells carry the echoes of ancestors, quietly preserving the narrative of survival, adaptation, and change. DNA is a living history, silently connecting the present to the deep past. Fact 93. DNA links you to all ancestors before you. Within your DNA lies a quiet connection to all your ancestors, from your parents to distant relatives long gone. Each generation contributes a thread to the intricate tapestry of your genome. This linkage is not just biological, it's a story of survival, migration, and adaptation. Some DNA sequences reflect ancient populations, environmental challenges, or evolutionary advantages passed down over millennia. It's fascinating to realize that your body carries echoes of countless lives, silently connecting you to people who lived hundreds, thousands, or even millions of years ago. DNA is a bridge across generations, quietly reminding us that life is a shared journey, and every cell carries a piece of history. Fact 94. DNA quietly orchestrates life without fanfare. DNA's most remarkable feature may be how unobtrusive it is. It orchestrates every aspect of life: growth, repair, communication, and adaptation without ever calling attention to itself. There's no noise, no flashy signal, just a silent, reliable conductor guiding the symphony of life. Proteins, enzymes, and cellular machinery follow DNA's instructions precisely, responding to signals, repairing errors, and adapting to changes. Every process, from the beating of your heart to the division of skin cells, flows according to the blueprint embedded in DNA. This quiet orchestration is a reminder that the most powerful forces are often unseen. DNA works silently yet profoundly, shaping the intricate rhythms of life in every organism on Earth. Fact 95. Each base pair is a tiny step in a cosmic dance. DNA is made of base pairs, adenine with thymine, cytosine with guanine, and each one plays a role in the grand choreography of life. Every pairing, every twist, Every interaction is like a tiny step in a cosmic dance that has been happening for millions of years. Together, these base pairs form the structure of the double helix, encode genes and guide proteins in their work. Their interactions are precise and elegant, creating a rhythm that sustains life, from the simplest bacteria to the complexity of humans. It's poetic to think that these microscopic molecules are part of something vast and timeless, silently dancing in every cell. Each base pair is a quiet testament to the beauty, elegance, and continuity of life itself. Fact 96. DNA's structure is like a soft, eternal spiral. DNA's iconic double helix is more than just a scientific model. It's a soft, eternal spiral, gently twisting through the tiny universe of every cell. Its shape is both functional and graceful, allowing the molecule to store immense amounts of information while remaining compact and flexible. Imagine a delicate ribbon spiraling endlessly, each turn carrying instructions for life. The spiral allows DNA to coil, loop, and supercoil, making room for all its sequences inside the tiny nucleus. Despite its microscopic size, this structure supports the vast complexity of life, quietly orchestrating everything from cell repair to growth and adaptation. DNA's eternal spiral reminds us that life is both intricate and enduring. Even in the smallest twists, there is a story of continuity, elegance, and resilience, a microscopic spiral echoing through millions of generations. Fact 97. Life's blueprint rests in microscopic threads. Within every cell, life's blueprint rests on threads so small they are invisible to the naked eye. These threads, strands of DNA, carry instructions for building and maintaining every part of an organism, from the tiniest molecule to entire organs. Despite their delicate size, these threads are incredibly powerful. They guide the formation of proteins, regulate cellular activity, and ensure that life continues seamlessly. Every thread is a quiet, persistent instruction manual, linking cells, organs, and systems into a harmonious whole. It's remarkable to consider that trillions of these microscopic threads work in perfect coordination, silently maintaining life. The tiniest strands hold the key to the grand story of existence, showing that even the smallest structures can carry profound significance. Fact 98. DNA bridges the past, present, and future. DNA is a bridge across time. It carries traces of ancestors who lived long ago, operates silently in the present, and passes instructions to future generations. Each molecule holds both history and potential, connecting life across generations in a continuous thread. Through DNA, we inherit not just physical traits, but echoes of evolutionary journeys, ancient adaptations, and the quiet persistence of life itself. Every cell division passes this legacy forward, allowing organisms to grow, adapt, and thrive while maintaining a connection to their past. This temporal bridge reminds us that DNA is more than chemistry. It is a storyteller, carrying whispers of the past into the present and shaping the possibilities of the future. Life flows through it, uninterrupted and eternal. Fact 99. Every breath and heartbeat carries DNA's legacy. Every moment of life, from a single breath to the steady rhythm of a heartbeat, is guided by DNA. It silently instructs cells, orchestrates molecular processes, and ensures that life continues smoothly, carrying the legacy of countless ancestors. Even the smallest actions, healing a cut, forming memories, or generating energy, are influenced by the instructions embedded in DNA. Trillions of microscopic molecules collaborate, maintaining balance and harmony, quietly sustaining existence. It's humbling to think that every heartbeat connects us to millions of years of life, evolution, and adaptation. DNA's legacy is in every movement, every thought, and every breath, a silent guide that ensures the continuity of life. Fact 100. DNA is the silent lullaby of life, perfect for falling asleep. Perhaps the most poetic truth about DNA is that it is life's silent lullaby. Its spirals, twists, and delicate sequences hum a quiet rhythm inside every cell, orchestrating existence without fanfare or noise. As you breathe, sleep, or simply rest, DNA works tirelessly, preserving stability, guiding repair, and maintaining the flow of life. Its quiet presence is comforting, a microscopic symphony that sustains you and every living thing on Earth. DNA is perfect for falling asleep to because it embodies patience, continuity, and subtle beauty. Every twist is a soft note, every bass pair a gentle beat, reminding us that life flows quietly and steadily, connecting past, present, and future in a lullaby that never ends.